All right, folks, welcome to another XenTegra Webinar Wednesdays. This week, I got a great guest, second time attendee. I'm excited. There's a couple new faces on with us today, and we're going to be talking about MSIX and how Liquit can fast track you to using and leveraging this great technology. I'm excited. Got a great panel of guests today. For those who don't know me, my name is Pete Downing. I'm your host and the CMTO of XenTegra. For those who are joining week over week, welcome back. For those who are new, hey, join us again. We try to keep this fun and fresh. All right, on the phone, I got a great panel of guests this week. And first, I'd like to introduce Mr. Chuck Brady. So, Chuck, if you want to give yourself a quick intro and kind of highlight, how you fit into Liquit.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Pete. Really appreciate it. I'm the VP of the Americas, and it's my job to get everything growing. So I'm, come from a long background of working in this space and met up with these great people, and we have an exciting technology. So I'm just along for the ride.
Nice. And, you're being modest here, but you have a pretty good legacy in this space. Can you, highlight one of the cool companies you were with in the past that you sold to Citrix?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was one of the original team for the AppDNA technology that we grew pretty extensively in the app compat and virtualization side of things. After 4 years, we were privileged to have Citrix acquire us. And since then, I've been working with various startups and helping different companies go to market, and came across this, and it was a dream come true.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to have you on board, and I love this technology. So next up, we got Roll. If you want to give yourself a quick introduction and how you fit into Liquit.
Yes, I want. I started out with Windows 3.1. That's a long time ago, and I've been fiddling with Windows and Windows applications since.
You were 9 years old, right?
It has been fun since, and it's now about MSIX. For me, that started about 2.5 years ago, I think, and it was not a bumpy ride, but I'm gonna bring in some technical details in this hour to talk about my journey there. So.
Nice.
With Liquit, I'm dealing with release and patch management. I'm with my team. On a daily basis, we maintain the setup store, and we try to make application delivery with Liquit Workspace, but also with other deployment offerings, as seamless as possible.
Nice. And you're based in the great country of the Netherlands, which yes. I miss visiting. I used to work for Res Software, and used to be in Den Bosch, yep. A lot, almost monthly. So I miss my trips over there and miss going to the Netherlands. But
it's about a 20-minute drive from my office. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And cool. And next up, familiar face, Nico. If you want to give yourself a quick intro.
Well, yeah, of course I will. What about it? Well, last time a lot of people might just have heard me and seen me. My name is Nico Siek. I work for Liquit now for the past 2.5 years. Wow, has it been a journey already? We've done a lot of great things. So last time I showed it a lot. My background is from the consulting. I used to be a senior architect at one of the larger Dutch consulting companies. I was responsible for bringing end-to-end offerings to their customers, so the medium to large enterprises. And there I came in contact with Liquit, and after a few sessions, Peter Hermeling from Liquit decided to have a cup of coffee with me. I think it was his worst mistake he ever made to hire me, but for me it's an incredible journey, and today I'm just listening in, answering any questions. And for Liquit, I'm responsible of the pre-sales and architecture and everything within that team. So yeah, if you have any questions, just let us know.
Awesome. All right, so let's the last but not least, and I don't know if Linda Karen's on, but Linda Karen, you want to give yourself a quick intro and what you do for Liquit?
Yeah, thanks, Pete. So my name is Linda Karen. I joined Liquit about a year and a half ago. I've been in the IT industry for about 10 years and started with Novell. Started my career at Novell. And then about a year and a half ago, I had a conversation with Peter, and I decided to also embark on this amazing journey with this amazing company, and I am responsible for marketing in the broadest sense of the word. And that includes working with amazing partners like you guys. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining. All right, so great panel. Rolls is going to be our demo guy today. I can't wait. But as everybody knows, we encourage questions. We are on GoToWebinar, so please put your questions in the Q&A dialogue. I'm going to be paying attention to them, and so ask away, and I'll throw them out there when the questions matter. So definitely ask questions today, and very excited. Yeah, Linda, just FYI, your sound was a little off, but hopefully, it won't be an issue. All right, so as far as agenda, it's very easy for those who keep coming every week. You know the drill. I just do a quick intro. I pass it over to the vendor, let them do their thing, and then I kind of close out the webinar. So nothing too crazy here. We keep it simple. Like I said, I live by the KISS model, and I try to keep it fun and exciting. For those who don't follow us, events.XenTegra.com. Check out all our cool events we got going on. A couple shout outs. I got a WVD event tomorrow that I do a WVD overview and workshop. And then in the afternoon, we're doing another workshop with one of our other great partners who actually is very complimentary to Liquit, Liquidware. So check those two out. Podcast.XenTegra.com. I actually just launched 2 new podcasts this morning. We got one called The Citrix Session and one called WVD Monthly. So I just recorded with Andy, my CEO and founder. We did a WVD Monthly recording this week, and those just got launched today. And then finally, yes, we do this every week, and I try to keep it fun and exciting. And I got a lot of great guests through the end of the year, and I'm actually starting to build out 2021, if you can believe that. So webinars.XenTegra.com if you want to see all the great vendors that I'm featuring week to week. And I'm excited because in December, I'm going to make it a little fun and do yearly recaps. So I got some good guests coming up in December and some great giveaways. So keep an eye out for that. And yes, as you all know, we are giving away Grubhub gift cards, gift credits. Again, I would shout out to Megan Hansen, who works for me. She's great. She has to go through and she vets everybody. So if you don't give me a business email address, guess what? We're going to ask you for a business email address. I'm sorry, but hey, we gotta make sure you are who you say you are, and they come in the form of credits. So keep an eye out for the email on those. And if you don't get the credits, just reach out and we'll make sure we get the taken care of very quickly. And then finally, in October, today is our last webinar of the month. If you joined everyone, guess what? You got 4 entries, right? Or actually 5, because I did a special one last week. And you could get in the drawing to win an LG Gram laptop. And then I got a bunch of other cool little prizes that I'll be giving away. So definitely thanks for attending today, and I'll be announcing the winner next week. And I'll be talking about this later on, bronco.XenTegra.com. If you check out that, you'll see some of the requirements. I'll highlight how you can get involved in this great giveaway next year and how maybe Liquit could fit in. All right, so let's ask some fun polls because, I love data and I love good anecdotes throughout the session to help Roll and myself figure out what you guys are all thinking. So let's get the audience involved, and I'm going to pull out one of my first questions because I think this is pertinent. My enterprise is evaluating Azure infrastructure as a service today. So the compute side of Azure. I don't care about SQL. I don't care about BI. I don't care about any other feature. I care about the compute. Are you doing compute in Azure today? So again, as you guys answer, I always do this disclaimer. None of your information is shared across any screens or anything. It's all anonymous, and no one can see your information. So if you're worried about that, don't worry. And also, if you're on a web version of GoToWebinar, unfortunately, you got to full screen it to be able to see the poll. I have no idea why, but that's kind of the finicky issue with the web version. I'm going to give this a couple more seconds and say last call for clicks. I like to get as many clicks as possible. kind of like voting. We got our election day next week. It's gonna be interesting. Going once, going twice, and last call. All right, so we got a really cool spread here. We got some in the evaluating state. We got a good chunk, I'd say a good chunk in the yes bucket, but a lot of folks still in the no, not even on the radar, but considering it bucket. So that's interesting. Be interesting to do a counter question if what other cloud you're looking at are using, and be interested to see if the no's are using AWS. All right, so let's take a look at my enterprise is using or looking at Microsoft WVD, Windows Virtual Desktop. Now, be honest here. If you don't even know what it is, say, hey, I don't know what it is. But if if you're not, say, not on the radar, or no, it won't meet my needs. I am curious to see, what you guys really think. And one of the things I'll caution you on, if you would like to pilot WVD as part of our follow-up, and we call you, ask us about how you get free dollars. Okay. So, part of piloting WVD and then coupling Liquid with that is we can help you do it for free. So if you're interested in piloting WVD, let Megan, Jen know when they call you and say, hey guys, just following up, and you can say, hey, I'm interested in doing more with WVD. All right, last call for clicks. And we got a lot of no's this time around. So, I think it's expected. There was a big wave in the beginning of the year around WVD, and it kind of flattened out a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how the year end goes with WVD. All right, let's talk about MSIX. My enterprise is looking at or using MSIX. And I kept it simple. 3 questions. Yes, we are currently evaluating. Yes, we are currently using, or no, what is MSIX? And again, be honest here. That's why you're here. You want to find out what MSIX is, and Roll's the expert in MSIX. And Nico's got a lot of great experience. I got a lot of good experience. Actually, I have a long history, guy. I used to do packaging with MSTs and Install Shield and all that back in a past life. It's crazy how long ago that seems. All right, last call for clicks. Going once, twice, and last call. And a lot of no's, so that's good. I think, Roll, you got your job cut out for you today. We're going to do a lot of educating today on what is MSIX.
Wow.
All right. Now, final 2 questions. Just curiosity. My enterprise is currently using an app layering technology today, and it's pertinent because, let's face it, MSIX is kind of a competitor in a way, and it's a new standard, right? So it's interesting to see what you guys are using as far as another technology. And again, if you're not using any, just say none. I know there's a lot of different ones out there, but I tried to cover the top ones that I know or that I work with, and we'll go from there. So final call for clicks, going once, twice, and last call. All right, so a lot of nones and a lot in the Citrix ELM bucket, which I find interesting. And I'll just hold my opinion to myself right now. But anyway, I find it interesting that a lot of you all are in the ELM. I'd be curious to see how you're liking it. And if you want to reach out to me after the session, feel free. All right, last call, last question, I promise. My enterprise is currently using an end user compute product today. And pick the one you primarily use. I know you could probably use 2, I get it, but pick your primary. So what is your primary? And this is more for just anecdote data and us to understand, what the makeup is of the audience. And it's just a good data snippet to have. I mean, we got 112 people on today, so I'm pretty excited. So we're gonna do last call for clicks, going once, twice, and final call, and close. So we got a pretty good snippet here of information, but a lot of Citrix folks, which is expected. It's funny, it's a lot of RDS folks, which I find interesting. And then a lot of nones. So pretty good snippet of data here. We can reference this later on, but yeah, great data. All right, so that's my polls for today. So thanks for participating. I always love when the audience gets involved. And with that, we're gonna pass the baton. But before we do, definitely follow Liquit and XenTegra on social media. I gotta say, Linda Karen does a great job. You guys post a lot of great content up to LinkedIn, etc. It's definitely worth a follow. You get a lot of great information on MSIX, packaging, etc. I mean, it's just, it's definitely worth a follow. And yes, we do record these sessions, and yes, they eventually make it up to our YouTube channel. So if you're interested, you could go watch the last one we did, and Nico was doing a great demo around Liquit and what is Liquit. So that if you want to know more, go up to our YouTube channel and look at the last webinar we did with Liquit. All right, so with that, I'm going to pass the baton over to Raul, and we're going to let him do his thing and take the stage. And I'm going to be the Q&A moderator. So I'm making you the presenter now, Raul. And have at it, buddy.
Here you go. How does this look like, Pete? Is this okay?
Perfect. We can see your slide. Perfect. And you're ready to rock.
Blue Liquit. So you said 87% of the people don't know what MSIX is, right?
Yep, just around that. Yep. So here, let me get you the exact number.
That's basically what I've seen of the last 1.5 years, that hardly anyone is looking at it, is fiddling with it. So my slide deck is full of tips and tricks from us, but also from other partners who are in this space. So I'm happy to share this one after the call. And the main theme in this deck is based on what the heck is MSIX? What can it do? What can't it do? How should I use it? And I have a couple of videos which show how to use MSIX within Liquit Workspace. Now, since Nico already covered that in the webinar, which was 4 months ago, I think, I'm not going into great detail on that. I'm just touching the surface where it comes to using MSIX with Liquit Workspace. Like Pete said, we post a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, Twitter, on social media. Probably every week I post up blogs which cover in great technical detail how to deliver specific applications. It could be AutoCAD, could be Creative Suite, could be Flash Player, how to deal with uninstalling it. It could be related to Windows Store apps. It could be related to AppV, to MSIX. I try to squeeze as much possible technical details in these blogs. And if you do have questions during this webinar, please send me an email. If I can't cover it at the end of the presentation, I'm happy to have a look at it and give my and our point of view how to deal with specific applications. Just to give a quick summary what Liquit can do, we offer a single pane of glass to start your applications. In this presentation, I've used SmartFTP as the example, how to deliver that in 4 possible ways. So I don't want to spend too much time on the slides and go into technical details as fast as possible. What is the use case of MSIX? And I brought in a quote of a good friend of mine who used to have different websites which had tips and tricks to deploy applications on Windows. And Bob did a great job on giving great detail on the benefits of MSIX. And the first sentence, Microsoft wants you to never regret installing an application. This theme is about Windows rot, and with SmartFTP, I will show you why that still is a problem if you install applications packaged in either an executable or an MSI format way. Talking about MSIX, we talk about modern applications versus legacy applications. And this is then only about packaging. So we call deployment or packaging using AppV or MSIX modern, and the old setup types executable and MSI setup types legacy. And I will tell you why. So the use case is you want installations to be predictable. You want it to be safe and reliable, and you also want to be able to make sure that if you uninstall an application, that it's really gone, that there's no Windows rot. And that comes back to when I talk about SmartFTP. This is a great quote by Carl Sagan. You have to know the past to understand the present. If you want to understand what MSIX is and what it is not, you have to go back into the past. And with MSIX, that's about 2.5 years ago, I got an email from Microsoft with an invite to come to the App Packaging Tooling Summit, and we flew to Redmond. Back in those days, you were able to find out what Microsoft was doing with MSIX. Basically, I told you what the benefits are. What I want to cover in these slides is that nowadays every Windows 10 version supported by Microsoft now has support for MSIX. You don't have to enable side loading, and again, if you're looking at the latest Windows 10 versions, you're basically good to go using MSIX. There are no barriers anymore from a Windows 10 OS point of view to start using MSIX. And I've been dealing it for 2.5 years now. It's really cool technology. If it really works for your applications, then it's the best thing to look at. Now, something disruptive happened over the last 2.5 years, and that was the introduction of MSIX App Attach, which works based on MSIX packages. And Pete had a slide in the beginning that compares with Citrix, VMware, and Liquidware. I don't want to go into detail, but this is Microsoft implementation of application layering. Now, I looked at VMware app volumes before VMware acquired Cloud Volumes, and that was in that year one of the most amazing things I had seen regarding application delivery. And the same goes with if you really see how App Attach works, that's really cool, and that helps a lot to solve a lot of problems we have seen over the last few years when it comes to application deployment. What Microsoft did is, instead of installing applications in your golden image, is combine one or multiple MSIX applications in a virtual disk. And then a virtual disk can directly be assigned to a WVD image on the fly, same as you would put an USB stick in your physical box. It's instantaneously mounted, and the applications are instantaneously available for the user to start. So you don't have to wait for a progress bar or watching a progress bar for an application to install. And it's really cool to see this coming more and more mature. Now, SmartFTP Client, Nico and I always make jokes about what applications we should use for a demo. For us, people doing demos, we want things to be small and simple. You don't want to demonstrate in a live demo AutoCAD example giving, because that takes hours and hours, or that could take hours and hours. So I've been looking for an alternative, and that's SmartFTP Client. If you want to deploy SmartFTP Client, and you have to choose between what kind of technology do I have to use to deliver it to my Windows boxes, you can then choose between MSIX, MSIX App Attach, MSI, OR, and that's something I will fill in later, what the OR is. So what's typical, and this is very interesting if 87% of the people don't know what MSIX is. What's very typical if you want to deploy this application is go to the vendor site to download it. And then you have to figure out what kind of setup type, in this case, SmartFTP or SmartSoft, I should say, has used to package this application. Now, if I download it, if you look in your Explorer folder, you can see that this is a Windows installer package. And this is really great, because if you know that something has been packaged using MSI, you can create transform files to customize it. And you know the installation behavior, you know the silent switches, you know how to change features, because that's where you bring in MST tools, and there are plenty of tools out there to customize it, to make sure that the end user doesn't need to install it manually, but then you can install it in a silent way. And what's typical about MSI, and I threw in these kind of screen captures to show the difference if you use MSIX instead of MSI, you see a couple of things. You see the that you need to have administrative rights to install SmartFTP, and that's because it is installed in the program files folder. And then you see not a smart icon, a normal icon on the desktop. And if you start the application, you're bothered with, hey, you need a license if you want to launch it with a serial. So packages have to figure out how the heck can I inject that license so that people, if they start it, are not bothered with the volume license or the company license I've bought for this piece of software. That's what I do every single day with my team, giving you the tips and tricks how to customize, in this case, SmartFTP. So if you go to our knowledge base, and that's a public knowledge base, you can find all kinds of tricks how to configure applications. Then if we dive into the start menu folder, you see a link file. And if I look at the properties of the link file, you see which executable is started if I double click on the desktop icon or if I use the start menu icon. And then what's typical in the programs and features for Win32 applications, you see a SmartFTP Client entry. But with Windows 10, we have more. If you look at apps and features, which is a different panel, you see more applications. And these applications are universal Windows platform apps. And these apps, which you saw in this screen capture, are built-in apps. Now, if you want to learn more about what these type of applications are, please have a look at this Windows Calculator blog. I go into great detail on how that works. Going back to SmartFTP, since I did a full installation, just have a look at what kind of files are now in my program files folder. That's an executable file, some DLL files, and just have a look at these. Where is it? FTP lib, and where's the shell tools DLL? That comes back later on during the webinar. So I installed the application. But what I need to know also as a packager is how does the application, what kind of features does it have? And if I configure the application, where is that stored? Because it helps me trying to figure out whether I need to do some additionally when packaging the application. And I brought in two specific options where I looked in the registry and I used some sys internal tools to figure out where the heck are these settings stored. I need to know this application because I need to deploy it in the enterprise. And I found out that it's an HKey current user setting. Well, that's a bit crappy because it means that if I can't set this setting in an HKey local, in HKey LM, it's quite difficult to package this. I don't want to go into great detail, but this is a challenging thing to do. You either need something like VMware DEM or another work profile management offering to be able to inject these registry keys. Some other thing which is part of the feature set of SmartFTP is a context menu item. If you click some document and right-click, you are able to edit it and also start SmartFTP to fiddle with that document to send it over through FTP. If I then uninstall it, talking about Windows rot, nothing is left behind in program files. But if you dive into the registry, there are certain registry keys, and they didn't even brought in whether COM registry entries are still there. This is exactly what Bob meant. That if you uninstall this MSI, there's always something left. And whether that will bother you the next week or the month after, that's the exact problem MSIX wants to solve. You install it, it's installed in a container. I'll show you the details. But if you uninstall it, it's really gone. That's the whole goal, the whole purpose of MSIX. So if I want to use MSIX then, to deploy SmartFTP and not want to use the MSI setup, where can I find it then? Well, I found out that there are a couple of applications in the Microsoft Store. In Power BI, I wrote therefore a blog about Power BI. Power BI is one of the rare examples where Microsoft is delivering an MSI package, but also an MSIX package. The application is exactly the same application, but it's just packaged differently. So in this case, you don't have to search for an MSIX version. It's just in the Microsoft Store for download. But if you are looking at SmartFTP, well, there's no MSIX version of SmartFTP, and the vendor doesn't have a download link, nor any other vendor has. I didn't find one yet. So you have to come up with your own MSIX. Well, Microsoft has a free tool called the MSIX packaging tool, which you can download from the Windows Store, the Microsoft Store. And that one enables you to do packaging, to do repackaging. This is to be installed on a clean VM. And what you do is just run the same installation, but capture the logic and convert it to an MSIX package. Now, Pete, how am I doing with time? Are there any questions?
You're doing perfect with time. So again, yeah, audience, if you have any questions, you got an industry expert here on MSIX and packaging for that matter. I guess I'll throw a question out there, Roel. So the you mentioned the packaging tool that Microsoft has. You guys have your tool.
Yep.
Like which one? Obviously you prefer to use your tool. What's the value of your tool over the Microsoft one?
I will do a demo because we are using Microsoft One, but
okay.
just
All right.
But just in a smarter way.
Cool. All right. Cool. Thank you.
Great question. So what I did for the demos for this webinar is I've built 4 SmartFTP Client icons. And looking at the icons, you can't see which application delivery methodology I've used, which packaging technology I've used, whether I've used MSI, MSIX, or MSIX app attach. And the fourth one, that's still a question mark. So what I did, and this is the first video on it, is I first I'm showing from Liquid Workspace how to deliver the MSI version of the SmartFTP client. And that one comes out of our setup store, which means that every time they deliver a new version, this package gets updated automatically. And you saw me including a transform file which has all the logic to install the license. This is the action which sets the registry every time I start SmartFTP. So then I'm sure that every time you start it, that function is switched off. And that's how this SmartFTP client package looks like. And then in my workspace as a user, if I then start it, it seamlessly copies the MSI plus the transform file to a local cache drive, and I start the application. That's really simple. But that's not the theme about this webinar. The theme is, what can we do to deliver this using MSIX? Well, at first, what do we do with MSIX? That's the same as what you saw with the SmartFTP icon delivering the MSI. We aggregate the MSI shortcuts. That's a different type of shortcut. I will go into detail in the next few slides. We facilitate deploying that MSIX package in exactly the same way, copying it to a local drive, regardless where the Windows 10 box is. And for those applications for which there's no MSIX yet, we use the Microsoft MSIX packaging tool in a more smarter way to convert these setups to MSIX. And that's what's in this video. I'm using our Setup Commander tool, which is part of the Liquid Release and Patch Management offering. And within the Setup Commander tooling, which, I'm doing it exactly the same as what Nico always has, same issue, pausing the video. What we use here is the MSIX packaging tool. So there's a video on YouTube which explains how to install the prerequisites like the MSIX packaging tool, but also the PowerShell applets to create the MSIX app attach VHD in a second. That's all not shown in this video. What you can do in this Liquit Setup Commander offering is load to the setup store, which is just over 3,400 entries, which we maintain every single day, also on Saturday and Sunday, with the latest download link of popular applications like Edge and Firefox and Chrome, and of course SmartSoft, and any type of application which is publicly downloadable that's offered in the setup store.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, Roel, can I have next Sunday off? I've been working like crazy.
Yes, you can, Chuck. Yes, you can.
Thank you.
So all these setups which we publish in the setup store are curated. Every entry we run against VirusTotal to tell you whether it's safe or not to download that setup. And we don't store it on our servers. That's why you see the download link here. We directly download it from the vendor side. And you saw that we found an MSI download link where SmartSoft doesn't offer that for normal end users. So within the setup store, I can download the latest, greatest version of the SmartFTP client. And what then comes in, if I start what we call the repackaging wizard, is an MSI transform wizard in which I already have configured my license settings. There's a link file here which brings me to the knowledge base article with the same information if you don't know how to use it. And this transform file is then thrown against the repackaging wizard, in which I can opt for different repackaging technologies. We don't offer repackaging tools. We use the tools of others. Flexera is one of the popular ones. The MSIX packaging tool is one of the popular ones. But AppV, the sequencer, which is part of the ADK, is also one of the packaging tools. And if I select the MSIX packaging tool, what then is brought in is a very simple wizard which guides you through different stages of the repackaging process. Most of the setup store entries have been checked against MSIX readiness. You see there's a partial warning here. I will come back to that. Things like exclusion items, hopefully we have time at the end of the session to cover those, are brought in. You don't have to, most of the things you don't have to configure. We bring in the silent switches. We bring in the logic to sign the package because every MSI package needs to be signed. We can inject the package support framework if that's needed. And if you want to use app attach also next to converting it to an MSIX package, it's just a checkbox and you set the size and the subdirectory of your VHD. And then we fire off the MSIX packaging tool. We reroute the logging to our screen, and then it silently installs the application with the enterprise settings in the transform file. It does its magic and then adds the PSF if that's needed. I will cover that also. It will sign and timestamp the MSIX package, and then at the end of the last stage is because I checked the checkbox, is to convert it to an app attach VHD layer. So we made it very simple. So questions I always get is, can I convert any applications using this? Well, just figure out, would it work with the MSIX packaging tool apart from using this setup commander tool? If that does, we can do it also because we're just basically leveraging the MSIX packaging tool. Now, if I close it up and if I go back into the directory in which the MSI was stored, you see a couple of additional files now. You see the MSI package, the cap file, which has my license, and an unsigned MSIX file, a signed MSIX file, and then SmartFTP hard disk file, which I'm going to use in the demo to demonstrate how from within Liquid Workspace we can use MSIX app attach. So at the end of this video, I'm just clicking, double-clicking the MSIX package so that I can show you how easy it is to not only package the application, but directly test it on this capturing machine. So next, how to deliver it then. That's the second of the fourth icon in Liquid Workspace. The SmartFTP Client. I only have to add two action sets, an install action set and a launch action set. The first one is copying the MSIX package to a local disk. And the second one is the launch action, which actually launches SmartFTP after the MSIX package has been installed on my system. That's how really easy it is to deploy an MSIX package after you have done the repackaging work with Liquid release and patch. Now on a clean machine, how does that look? I go back into my Liquid Workspace. I've used tags to differentiate between the different SmartFTP clients. This is one which uses MSIX technology. So if I click it, the user experience is exactly the same as when using an MSIX package. The application launches. If I close it up, you will see that it's now only available in this apps and features screen. You don't see it in the programs and features screen. That's the difference between an MSI installation and an MSIX application. Now, going to the third icon of the fourth icons, how can you leverage then using this with Windows 10 2004 and up? And that's very simple. You throw in two action sets, an install action set and a launch action set. And the first one copies the VHD down. This is just for my demo, so I didn't use a share, but I just copied to a temp file, to a temporary directory. And then you see the attach and the stage, the attach virtual disk action, which attaches the virtual disk, and then the stage and register takes care of staging and registering the MSIX application, which means that it is being made available to the end user. And then the launch action set, if that's all taken care of, you can just launch SmartFTP, but then using MSIX app attach technology. Now, same video, and you see that I have the disk manager open. There's nothing installed, no Win32/MSI installation of SmartFTP. You don't see it in apps and features. I open up the disk manager. There's no MSIX app attached disk yet. I go into my, I'm just showing the Win version I'm using. This is available with Windows 10 2004 and up. Then I go into Liquid, use the tag app attach apps, start the SmartFTP client. This is why we call this a smart icon. The user doesn't see the difference. And then in the disk manager, you see that the 2 gig VHD disk, which only has one application, the SmartFTP client application, but you can also inject more applications if you want to. And you start it. That's basically it. So the end user is not bothered with what kind of techniques are being used. They just launch the application, and since it's an MSIX based application, you see it in the same area, the apps and features area of my apps and features. So Pete, how are we doing with questions?
So we got an interesting question, and I'm not sure the context, but maybe you have a better understanding. But and I'm trying to get some feedback from the person asking. But is it possible to distribute MSIX outside the Microsoft Store? So what I'm guessing he's asking is, obviously you're showing this, so I'd say the answer is yes. And I'm trying to think what the site used to be called, but what is it called? Yeah. App Ninja now or whatever. Is it similar? I think he's asking probably around that. Do you guys post how-tos and all that?
No, the question is answered in a blog I've written about the Microsoft Business Store. Officially, you can't download MSIX packages from the Microsoft Store UI. You have to use the Microsoft Store for Business. That's the official way of downloading MSIX/AppX packages and bundles from the Microsoft Store. There's an unofficial answer, but that's not something I want to give since this call is recorded.
Cool. And then I guess another question I have is, I just want to clarify for the audience here. I think there's been a misconception around MSIX, right? That it's
Yes.
only used in cloud scenarios, and that's not the case. I can use this on Win 10 in my VDI environments. I could use this on Win 10 on a physical machine, and MSIX is just becoming the new MSI. Is that a fair statement?
It is. This covers the last part of my presentation. There are well. Let me throw in this slide. The packaging community has a couple of fine MSIX experts. Bob is one of them. Tim Megan is one of them too. He's the one who is contributing on the detours open source technology, the package support framework. He's one of the masterminds behind FV. That's icon number 4. There are just certain things you can't do with MSIX yet. Some things you can, some things you can't. And Tim has a white paper called the MSIX report card, which has a lot of details on things you can't do and can do. And I have a perfect example with SmartFTP of something I've been working on over the last few days to demonstrate. There are just a couple of issues, or there are issues with MSIX, certain things you can't do. And let me just throw in SmartFTP Client as an example again. If you use the MSIX package for SmartFTP repackaged using the MSIX packaging tool, one of the things you see is that it doesn't show up in programs and features. Fine, that's what we just learned. So it's in apps and features. That's fine too. But you don't see a icon on the desktop. Hang on, that's new. There's no icon on the desktop. Okay. And if you look at program files, there's nothing in program files. Well, that's the promise of MSIX, to put it in a bubble. And apparently the bubble is not anymore in program files. Well, there are more differences. And one of the differences, if you look at the traditional way of adding a shortcut to the start menu, this is what you would see. With MSIX, this is what you see. There's no open file location anymore, again, because it's in a bubble. And if you then look for where is that bubble, it's still in program files, but it's hidden. It's in the Windows apps directory, and you can use the get apix package. Apix, hang on, we were talking about MSIX. I will come back to that one too. It's in this folder, and this is causing one of the problems. It's separated from other applications, and depending on how the application behaves, if it writes to directories it shouldn't write to, that could end up in a nightmare or something, some feature in the application not working. So that's why you can't repackage everything to MSIX in a nutshell. And one of the things I wanted to show about AppX is, this is a perfect example. I'm missing something here. If I start SmartFTP Client in the traditional way, I have a context menu item which can start SmartFTP. If I do it the MSIX way, I can't. And that's because, and this has been going on since the beginning, there are issues with certain shell extensions, certain context menu items, like with Notepad++ or WinZip or 7-zip, that if that's related or built upon, and I'm throwing in the DLL, which is used for SmartFTP, if that is based on DLLs, that's not possible. That's not compatible with MSIX. So Accurate Reader, yes, that works because it's all rerouted to accuratereader.exe. But if it's DLL based, it doesn't work. And there are different scenarios where shortcuts which have arguments, shortcuts which need a specific working directory, that's not by default supported with MSIX, but that's why Tim is such an important person. He's the mastermind behind the package, or supporting the package support framework, I should say. With this package support framework, you saw that tab in the Setup Commander offering. That's what the MSIX packaging tool doesn't do. You can inject a certain set of DLLs in an executable to reroute those type of scenarios to be fixed. And this is really a kind of a packaging / developer, how do I say it, action to do. So certain things you can fix, certain things you can't fix yet.
Yeah, yeah. So basically what I'm seeing here is like MSIX is still not perfect, but it's still practical for some, a good solid number of use cases.
It's very robust, it's very solid. If it works, it's really one of the best delivery methodologies. And that's the fourth icon I wanted to bring in. I have used AppV for the fourth icon. Context menus are supported with AppV on Windows 10. For us, it doesn't really matter what type of packaging technology or delivering methodology is used from within Liquid Workspace. So that's why I have 4 SmartFTP icons. With AppV, I am able to add that context menu item and use a modern packaging delivery methodology like with MSIX. And the beauty of, for the time being, if these context menu items are important for an organization, is that it is really simple to convert an AppV package using the MSIX packaging tool to MSIX if Microsoft brings in some fixes for MSIX. And that's what I meant with this slide. Certain fixes have to be implemented in Windows 10 to be fixed. And one of the things which Microsoft did is add support for services in 2004 and up. That's just one of the examples of fixes which are implemented by Microsoft in Windows 10.
Cool. All right, so we're coming up on the top of the hour. I'll give you about another minute or so if you want to kind of wrap up with the final content, so we can do a quick wrap. But I'll about another minute.
Yeah, there's one thing I wanted to, which I didn't show in the SmartFTP demo because that's not applicable to SmartFTP. One of the things we found out also during testing of all the setup store apps is we bring in exclusion items. If you want to repackage one of the most popular apps, Google Chrome, you don't, especially with WVD, you don't want to create an MSIX package which has a service which is trying to update Chrome automatically. And one of the things we just did is add exclusion items to make sure that if you repackage Google Chrome, and Stefan Georgiev, one of the AppAttach, the AppAttach product manager, he loves this. We just throw in the exclusions to make sure with Firefox, with Edge, with Google Chrome, if you repackage those to MSIX, to use these exclusions, both from a registry point of view as well as from a file exclusion point of view, to make sure that you get a working MSIX package at the end. So AppV, and that's what I covered. So that's why I have 4 icons in my workspace. All 4 use a different technology to deliver it.
Cool. Yeah, so for the audience, if you're interested, again, we did a great deeper dive on what is Liquit earlier this year with Nico. And if you check out our YouTube channel, the webinar is there. In fact, I'll put the link into our follow-up email so you have it. And if you want to watch it, it's definitely worth it. So, Roland, thanks for the presentation today. I'm gonna take us into the end cap here. Audience, any final questions you have, please throw them into the Q&A, because if we can't get to them, guess what? They get recorded. We can follow up with you, and we can definitely take some time to answer any questions that we didn't get to today. So anyway, for those who don't know who XenTegra is, we are a partner and reseller of Liquit, as well as plenty of other great partners in our portfolio. But Andy, our founder and CEO, founded XenTegra on 2 core premises. One, we really believe in customer enablement. So hey, you guys spend a lot of money on different solution stacks. We want to make sure you get the most out of it. So we're not just selling you product and running away. And two, we want to be a great partner to all the vendors we work with. So that's kind of the core premise of XenTegra, and Liquit is a great partner, and we are looking forward to building our relationship with Liquit and building the business with Chuck and team throughout the US. Now, if you want to check out a really cool aspect of our business, go to dev.XenTegra.com. We have a great team of developers, and the reason why I bring this up is because obviously, if you don't want to sit here and do packaging, guess what? XenTegra can help. And we want to help Liquit and expand the MSIX story. So, we have a great team of devs and a DevOps group within XenTegra, and we focus on various buckets of development and what I would like to call enterprise development. So definitely check out dev.XenTegra.com. And if you want to know more, reach out and we can get you in touch with our team, and we can list out the requirements and try to help you get some MSIX packages built. If you go to partners.XenTegra.com, that will show you all our great partners, aka our other customers. So, we believe that partners are not just partners, they're also customers. And finally, Bronco.XenTegra.com. Yes, we're giving away a free Bronco next year, and there's a lot of ways you can win this great thing. I'm excited. I wish I had one. And here I'm going to tell you a few ways you can get into this drawing. So the first way is very simple. Hey, we've all been here, done that. We started my career off in IT, and nothing is more worse than getting a call in the middle of the night or on the weekend. So why not defer your help desk to XenTegra? We have a full stack MSP, and we are a Citrix CSP, a VMware Cloud Verified, and a Microsoft Gold partner, and we can manage all your offerings within our own cloud, in a public cloud, or just be a support desk for various solutions within your stack. Again, if you do a consult with our MSP team, that will get you into the drawing. The next is we offer a bunch of awesome micro assessments. So if you do any of our micro assessments end to end and complete them, you will get put into the drawing. Now, a great example of that is we do a end user compute micro assessment. We do one on VMware or one on Citrix. You're not just getting a bunch of stuff, you're getting some good anecdotes that will help you figure out the future of your environment. Randy, one of our SEs, does them. He's awesome, and I definitely recommend it. It's a great free offering. I call it the XenTegra interview. It's a great way to get to know how XenTegra works. Again, you finish these, that puts you in the drawing. And then finally, staffing.XenTegra.com. If you do a staffing consult with us, that will also put you in the drawing. Yes, we have a staffing division. Yes, we can help you do temp to hire. We can help you do staff aug. We can help you do full-time hire. People think, well, why the heck is a value-added reseller doing staffing? Well, it's easy. We have a great network. So if you want to know more about our staffing division, let us reach out or connect us with your HR department, and we can talk. So again, today, if you saw anything you like, which I saw a ton that I like, you definitely want to dig deeper. Let us know. We can hook you in with the Liquit team and get a deeper demo. If you want to know what is Liquit even further, we can do that as well, and definitely take us up on some of the other offerings we're offering within our Bronco campaign. So with that, I'm going to do last call for questions, and as I do that, I'm going to give one more shout out to Roll and ask, hey, guys, do you have any final thoughts? So Roll, any final thoughts on your side?
Well, hopefully for the 87%, I simplified what MSIX is. At first, for me, it was difficult to grasp, like, what is it? Is it FV? Is it this? Is it that? It's if you really dive into it, it's really cool technology, which you should really check out.
Awesome, and yeah, and you guys are doing a great job simplifying it, and I'm excited to, dig deeper into it as well. All right, so with that, I'm going to close out this awesome webinar Wednesday and thank Liquit for joining me this week. And next week we have a lot of great vendors coming up in the month of November. So check out webinars.XenTegra.com and join us next week for not only a new webinar Wednesdays, but some new giveaways I'm thinking about for the month of November. With that, have a great day, and as I always say, see you guys on the flip side.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.